Welcome to the 2611 Memories, Hope and Way Forward virtual exhibition hosted by the AAPTI Field Action Project of the Tata Institute of Social Sciences. The AAPTI project was initiated in 2008 to support survivors of 2611, and we bring to you one of our recent initiatives emerging from our ongoing work with survivors of terror. This exhibition has been envisioned as an exploration into the realities of a terror attack and the post-terror circumstances of those most impacted by the attack. Public memory often distinguishes between martyrs and victims. In the context of such terror attacks, martyrs often refer to armed security personnel who have laid down their lives to protect the country, while the victims are usually civilians and others who have lost their lives during the attack. However, there is a third group that is often clubbed together with victims, and they are the survivors. Survivors have endured the event and have continued to pick up the pieces of the life that was shattered by the terror event. With this knowledge, it takes no great effort to recognize which group stays within the realm of public memory. Is this because the personnel are the key targets of terrorism and thus among the worst affected? The answer to this question requires a look into the casualties that a terror event leaves in its wake. The key aspect to be viewed here are the losses due to terror events in the South Asian region. South Asian region, which India is a part of, accounts for the second largest number of terrorism-related losses in the past decade. Now, shifting our attention to the worst affected countries, one can easily discern that India is very much among them. The next data set pertains to who is the worst affected on a global scale due to terror activities. The answer to the question, are personnel the prime target of terrorism, raised in the previous section, can be seen here. The worst affected are the civilians. This is in spite of excluding civilian targets categorized as attacks on educational institutions, journalists, religious institutions, and tourists. This is followed closely by the armed personnel. The final category represents government officials and public figures who are the least affected within this group. Another important point to remember is that no database includes survivors despite them being the ones who require significant attention in the aftermath. Despite this information on civilians being the worst affected, one may raise the possibility that this is simply on a global scale and is not the case in India, a valid possibility, and therefore it is important to look at the data pertaining to India. If we turn our attention towards the state of India, it can be seen that outside of conflict-prone areas in India, 73 terror attacks have taken place across India in the 21st century. A key takeaway from this is that Maharashtra has suffered around 17 incidents and 11 of these have taken place in Mumbai, which suggests that the city has been a recurring target for terror groups given its position as the financial capital of the Indian nation. In the case of casualty trends, the reality is the same. Civilians bear the brunt of the attacks, significantly so compared to the global scenario. Across a yearly division from the period of 2010 to 2018, civilians were disproportionately impacted by terror events. In the light of this reality, it becomes important to explore and understand the plight of survivors in the aftermath of an event. The 2611 Mumbai attacks have garnered great attention over the years, and thus would be a prime example to showcase the post-event lives of those who have been its targets. Mumbai, remembering 2611. To understand the post-event lives of the survivors, it is of pertinence that one refresh their memories on the 2611 attack, which has become an everyday lived reality of the survivors. On the night of 26 November 2008, 10 armed terrorists struck simultaneously at 5 different locations. These locations were the Oberoi Trident and the Taj Palace and Tower, both luxury hotels, the Leopold Cafe, the Chabad House Jewish Cultural Center, and the Chhatrapati Shivaji terminus, simply known as CST or VT in popular parlance. The attack did, however, diverge beyond these locations. 2 taxis with explosives exploded at Ville Parle and Dockyard Road. 2 of the terrorists who had opened fire at CST then travelled to Kama Hospital, where a shootout took place before finally being brought down at Girgaon Chowpatty. At this location, one of the terrorists was killed while the other was captured. The casualties vary across news articles and official documents, but roughly 140 Indians and 25 foreign nationals were killed in the attack. More than 300 people were wounded. The attack turned into a 3-day siege that closed out after the Mumbai police and the armed forces captured 1 alive and killed 9 terrorists. The devastating effects of the attack continue to ripple across time to this day. But along with the pain came solidarity. In the wake of the attack, tributes came pouring in, expressing support to those that have been hurt, and these tributes and memorials continue to pop up every year on the anniversary of the event. But who is prominently remembered in these tributes? Why and what implication does it carry? Needs to be explored, and the next poster serves to enlighten us on this. The poster on screen depicts the trend of memorials for 2611 over the years. Civilians are represented first, followed by public figures, and finally by personnel. The poster divides the memorials based on this categorization. As it can be seen over the years, the focus on civilians and their participation in the anniversary memorials have dropped over the years, while the focus on personnel and public figure participation has increased. News reports have largely focused on public figures paying tribute to the event. These personnel-focused and public figure-inspired tributes have tended to overshadow civilian victims and survivors, a trend which has been continuing since the 5th anniversary of the event. The current poster on display brings to attention the memorials that were conducted for terror attacks that have taken place in 21st century India. The data does not include regions such as Jammu and Kashmir, Punjab, and the Northeast. It can be seen that the memorial events have primarily been focused on the civilians, except for the 2001 Parliament attack, which is primarily an official exercise, with memorials organized every year since it was perceived as an attack on the Indian state, unlike the other events that have not gone beyond the 2nd or 3rd year. A fact to keep in mind is that most of these memorials happened directly after the event or on the 1st anniversary of the event, after which most of them had no further memorials. Other than the 2001 Parliament attack, the represented events have all resulted primarily in civilian casualties. Therefore, the subjects of these events consist primarily of civilians. But the 2001 Parliament attack has had so many anniversary events that have been dedicated to personnel, receiving attention from politicians, personnel, and family members of the deceased. The presentation of these memorials was to bring to your attention the sheer number of terror events that have gone under the radar, resulting in victims and survivors who are primarily civilians fading from public memory, their plights unknown, and their futures uncertain. The list is also not exhaustive, as several other attacks have occurred within India, but have failed to register firmly in public memory for even a memorial. To be illuminated on the circumstances of the survivors after 2611, there are no voices better than those of the ones who have endured. The lived experiences of the survivors serve to truly express their circumstances post-event, and their interactions with the government as well as their present lives stand testament to the reality of what recovery looks like. The following section constitutes a playlist that artistically depicts the voices of survivors. Select a video from the playlist based on your topic of interest to view the voices of survivors.